China seeks to invest in Malaysia due to its skilled labour and favourable policies. Malaysia's foreign policy remains independent, principled and pragmatic. Good evening and Salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching Malaysia Tonight. I'm SAHIH. We begin with the US presidential election. Republican candidate Donald Trump surpassed the majority of 270 electoral votes to win the presidency by securing 277 votes, defeating his challenger Democrat Kamala Harris. The results showed the former president successfully controlled 4 out of 7 key states that were deciding factors in this election. Trump reportedly controlled Pennsylvania, which has 19 electoral votes, as well as North Carolina and Georgia, with 16 electoral votes each, and Wisconsin with 10 electoral votes. Republican Party also performed excellently in controlling the Senate, including capturing 2 seats to overcome the narrow Democratic majority previously. Trump also secured Texas, Florida, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Mississippi, West Virginia, Alabama, Missouri, and Dakota. Trump's victory also extended to Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Wyoming, Tennessee, South Carolina, North Carolina, Kansas, Arkansas, Montana, Idaho, Iowa, and Utah. Aside from the presidential position, voting also involved the election of members for 435 House of Representatives seats and 34 Senate seats. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim joined world leaders in congratulating Trump for winning the US presidential election, of which the official result is merely a formality. On his various social media platforms, Datuk Seri Anwar congratulated Trump on his remarkable political comeback, saying this new chapter brings renewed opportunities and Malaysia is ready to move forward with optimism, collaboration and shared purpose. He noted the United States remains Malaysia's largest source of foreign investment and a vital player in the Asia-Pacific region. As ASEAN chair in 2025, Malaysia hopes that America will reinvigorate its engagement with Southeast Asia. Malaysia also urged the United States to use its considerable influence to help end the devastating violence and loss of life in Palestine and Ukraine. The US Embassy in Kuala Lumpur hosted a presidential election watch event today, allowing Americans in Malaysia to view the live results. Expatriates, diplomats and local politicians gathered to witness the race between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. In a speech, US Ambassador to Malaysia Edgar D. Kagan highlighted that Malaysia represents a model of democratic success.
And I'm very proud of the fact that I think I tell people, if you have questions about democracy, look at Malaysia. Because I think Malaysia's extraordinary success navigating some very big political changes peacefully, in a way that respects institutions, is a real testament to the power of democracy to both ensure peaceful change of leadership, but also to ensure that the voice of the people is heard and that leadership reflects the wishes and will of the people.
The embassy's event was significant as it linked Americans abroad and also emphasized the importance of their democratic participation. On the other note, US Ambassador to Malaysia Edgar D. Kagan said US foreign policy in the Indo-Pacific will remain unchanged regardless of the US presidential leadership. This is because the US has a deep and bipartisan commitment to the Indo-Pacific.
The U.S. has a deep and bipartisan commitment to the Indo-Pacific. We recognize the importance of this region, and we also recognize that we very much need and strong ties with key partners in the region. I think if you look at the amount of trade, if you look at the strategic importance, it's very clear, regardless of who's in the White House, there will be a deep commitment to the Indo-Pacific. And some of the key drivers of our policy, including our competition with China, are not going to change.
Kagan expressed confidence in the future development of US-Malaysia relations, highlighting the beneficial economic effects of American investments in the nation. The Ministry of Defence believes that the United States' stance on security will remain aligned with Malaysia's regardless of who assumes the presidency. Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Khalid Nordin emphasised that Malaysia consistently upholds the principle of neutrality and fosters positive relations with all nations, including the United States.
Kita mempunyai hubungan yang baik dengan banyak negara termasuklah di Amerika. Saya percaya bahawa dalam bidang keselamatan banyak negara dan termasuklah Amerika akan terus mempunyai sikap dan pendirian yang sama.
The minister stated that Malaysia's democratic nature differs from that of the United States, emphasizing the importance of acknowledging and respecting these distinctions. Datuk Seri Muhammad Khalid made these remarks to the media during a US election watch event in Kuala Lumpur. The tendency of Chinese companies to invest in Malaysia is clearly manifested through a meeting and roundtable session between Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim and over 20 industry leaders. Datuk Seri Anwar emphasised that the discussions clearly demonstrated their desire to continue expanding their business in Malaysia. In a session held this morning, Datuk Seri Anwar, there were discussion on national policies, including on regulations and investment. Asked on potential investment secured during the current visit, the Prime Minister said it will be announced tomorrow. Separately, the Prime Minister's office said the discussion anchored on Malaysia's centrality and its attractiveness as an investment destination given its talented workforce and supportive government policies. The Prime Minister also discussed potential collaborations with these investors with regard to investing in technology and innovation in Malaysia. The dialogue session with Chinese investors was organised by Khazanah Nasional Berhad. Among the investors involved in the session were Cheng Wei Capital and NRL Capital. Malaysia's foreign policy remains independent, principled and pragmatic despite being a partner of BRICS recently. According to Deputy Foreign Minister Datuk Muhammad Alamin, Malaysia as a sovereign country is free to choose whatever organisation it wants to join, but it must be based on meticulous consideration and benefits to the country. Besides, Malaysia's participation in BRICS is in line with the foreign policy of supporting multilateralism to address various geopolitical and global economic challenges.
Di mana kita sentiasa committed dalam usaha mengukuhkan hubungan dan kerjasama dengan negara-negara asing yang mampu untuk memberi manfaat dari segi pembangunan ekonomi, pelaburan, dan juga hubungan dua hala kita dengan mana-mana negara sekalipun. Kita juga mendukung di atas keluhuran undang-undang antarabangsa termasuk piagam pertubuhan bangsa-bangsa bersatu.
Speaking in Dewan Rakyat, Datuk Muhammad said Malaysia's involvement in any organisation at the international level will be fully aimed at actively moving forward and giving a good impact to the country. This was proven through the country's membership in the UN, Organisation of Islamic Cooperation (OIC), non-aligned movement and so on. Malaysia is on the right track to achieving a more sustainable and enduring economy. Finance Minister too, Datuk Seri Amir Hamzah Azizan, stated that the country's economic growth is becoming more robust with an estimated growth of 5.3% in the third quarter of this year and inflation rate that remains controlled.
September numbers on inflation was 1.8%. Yeah, and it's continuing tracking downwards because we were in August at 2, in July at 2, in August at 1.9, and in September at 1.8. If you look at foreign direct investments, last year we recorded a record amount of foreign direct investments in the country. 330 billion ringgit was.
The minister added that the foreign direct investment or FDI for the first 6 months of this year reached 160 billion ringgit, an increase of 18% compared to the same period last year. This increase is seen as a sign of investor confidence in Malaysia's economic prospects. Datuk Seri Amir Hamzah further noted that the government is also taking steps to retarget subsidies to ensure effective spending and avoid leakages. In a different matter, Dato' Sri Amir Hamzah said the introduction of Employees Provident Fund (EPF) contribution by foreign workers aims to facilitate wage equity in the country, ensuring that local labour is not disadvantaged along the way. He said Malaysia has seen significant improvement in the welfare of foreign labour while ensuring the nation abides by good practices prescribed by international labour organisations.
To facilitate that the equity between the wages that are created for foreign labour doesn't disadvantage locals along the way. So as we start to increase whereby foreign labour is required to actually contribute to EPF, you are actually innovatively trying to equate foreign labour with local labour so that people are not overly incentivized to start taking foreign labour along the way.
The minister said the EPF contribution for foreign workers proposal, as announced under the Budget 2025, was suggested and envisioned to address the issue of wage differentiation between local and foreign labour as the country drives up minimum wage policy. According to the minister, the EPF is currently examining the mechanism for phasing the deduction into the system.
Welcome to On the Table.
Obviously, there are two main engines of growth in any economies.
What are the implications of Malaysia's growth on employment, income levels, and also standard of living per population?
From a historical perspective, it's been good.
The capacity in our country can be built to be in the same level as the world standards.
The government, through the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry (MITI) and the Malaysian Investment Development Authority (MIDA), has introduced two new funds under the 12 Malaysia Plan 12MP, namely the Domestic Investment Accelerator Fund (DIAF) and the Foreign Investment Accelerator Fund (FIAF). According to MITI Deputy Minister Liu Chin Tong, DIAF and FIAF build upon the Domestic Investment Strategic Fund (DISF) and the High Impact Fund (HIF), aligning with the government's current policies under the Madani Economy Framework and the New Industrial Master Plan NIMP 2030.
Pengenalan DIEF dan FIAF ini pada asasnya adalah kesinambungan kepada DISF dan HIF yang mana dana ini adalah selari dengan dasar semasa kerajaan di bawah kerangka ekonomi madani dan Pelan Induk Perindustrian Baru 2030. Kedua-dua dana ini telah berakhir dengan selesainya RMK ke-10 dan RMK ke-11. Dan sebanyak 526 projek telah berjaya dilaksanakan.
Liu explained that DIAF aims, among other objectives, to support small and medium enterprises, SMEs, and mid-tier companies in obtaining certification or verification for adopting environmental, social, and governance elements. This will be done through matching grants with a 50-50 or 70-30 ratio for eligible expenses, depending on project evaluation. Communications Minister Fahmi Fadil's inaugural official visit to Turkey concluded on a positive and forward-looking note with an emphasis on accelerating digital transformation across the Organisation of Islamic Cooperation (OIC) member states. Following his visit, which included several high-level bilateral meetings with representatives from various OIC countries, Fahmi highlighted key issues raised during the discussion, particularly around cybersecurity and efforts to boost trade relations within the network of countries. The minister was on a 3-day working visit to Turkey and attended the OIC's 40th session of the Standing Committee for Economic and Commercial Cooperation, or COMSEC, between 2nd and 5th November. Fahmi also delivered a statement on behalf of the Asian group of OIC member states at COMSEC. This is the first time in 40 years that a Malaysian minister has attended COMSEC, the last being Tengku Razali Hamzah in 1984. During the visit, Fahmi held bilateral meetings with Turkey's Treasury and Finance Minister Mehmet Simsek and the United Arab Emirates UAE State Minister Ahmed Ali Al-Saih on possible cooperation and investment in digital infrastructure and technology. He also met with the Palestine Minister of National Economy, Mohammed Al-Amour, yesterday to discuss possible cooperation between Malaysia and Palestine in various areas. The Saudi Arabia's General Authority for Small and Medium Enterprises, Monsoon, signed a collaborative memorandum of understanding with SME Corp Malaysia at the Biban 2024 forum held in the Riyadh Front Exhibition and Convention Centre. The agreement marks a significant step in strengthening relations and expanding cooperation in small and medium enterprise SME development between Saudi Arabia and Malaysia. The MOU was signed by Monsoon Governor Sani bin Ibrahim Al Husseini and SME Corp Malaysia Chief Executive Officer Rizal Naini, in the presence of Entrepreneur Development and Cooperatives Minister Dato' Iwan Benedict and Saudi Commerce Minister Dr. Majid bin Abdullah Al Khasabi. The MOU establishes a framework for both entities to closely collaborate on exchanging information and expertise to support the growth of SMEs. The partnership emphasizes capacity building, high-growth SME programs, market access facilitation, knowledge transfer, and the sharing of best practices related to SME regulations. These efforts aim to streamline business operation, boost innovation, and promote entrepreneurship. Petronas, through Malaysia Petroleum Management (MPM), has partnered with Earth Science Analytics (ESA) and Amazon Web Services (AWS) to leverage advanced artificial intelligence (AI) and machine learning (ML) technologies to accelerate exploration efforts in the Malay Basin and enhance data capabilities of the Petronas MyPro data platform. The National Oil Company said the web-based platform provides subscribers access to Malaysia's exploration and production (ENP) data. MPM Senior Vice President Dato' Bacho Pilong said these collaborations are pivotal in reinforcing Petronas' commitment to innovation as it gears up for the Malaysia Bid Round MBR 2025. The MBR is an annual licensing round offering diverse upstream opportunities to potential investors, and it includes exploration acreages, discovered resource opportunities, and late-life producing assets across Malaysia. Petronas said MPM would be partnering with ESA to explore cutting-edge AI and ML geoscience technology. It added that the integration of this advanced AI and ML tool will significantly enhance the operational capabilities of the Petronas MyPro data platform, enabling potential investors to make better data-driven decisions in Malaysia's ENP sector. Malaysia's services producer price index increased marginally by 0.3% to 115.8 in the third quarter of 2024 compared to a 0.7% increase in second quarter 2024. Department of Statistics Malaysia, or DASM Chief Statistician Datuk Seri Dr. Muhammad Uzir Mahidin said the Arts, Entertainment and Recreation Index rose 5.4% in third quarter 2024 against 7.7% in the previous quarter, contributed by the other amusement and recreation activities 0.9%. Meanwhile, TU Chief Statistician said the Education Index inched up 0.8%, contributed by secondary education 1.7%, while the Health Index increased by 0.3%. On a quarter-on-quarter basis, Datuk Seri Dr. Muhammad Uzir said SPPI increased by 0.1% after a decrease of 0.1% in the second quarter 2024, mainly due to accommodation and food and beverage service activities and arts, entertainment and recreation, where both indices recorded an increase of 0.9%. Additionally, the Education Index also increased by 0.2%, while the Health, Professional, Information and Communication Index remained unchanged. However, transportation and real estate activities indices declined by 0.6% and 0.5% respectively. Bank Negara Malaysia has maintained the overnight policy rate OPR at 3.00%. The central bank said at the current OPR level, the monetary policy stance remains supportive of the economy and is consistent with the current assessment of inflation and growth prospects. BNM highlighted that the global economy continues to expand amid resilient labour markets and continued recovery in global trade. However, the central bank emphasized that the growth outlook remains subject to downside risks, mainly from further escalation of geopolitical tensions, heightened volatility in global financial markets, and slower growth momentum in major economies. Commenting on the Malaysian economy, BNM said the latest indicators point towards sustained strength in economic activity, driven by resilient domestic expenditure and higher export activity. At the same time, the central bank said the measures outlined under Budget 2024 are expected to provide additional support to growth. It is said headline and core inflation remain modest, averaging at 1.8% year to date. Going into 2025, inflation is expected to remain manageable amidst easing global cost conditions and the absence of excessive domestic demand pressures. On the ringgit's performance, BNM said the local currency continues to be primarily driven by external factors. BNM also said that Malaysia's favourable economic prospects and domestic structural reforms, complemented by ongoing initiatives to encourage flows, will provide enduring support to the ringgit. Today's Monetary Policy Committee meeting was the last one for this year. Apple is set to be the first company fined under new EU new rules aimed at reining in the power of big tech. That's according to sources with direct knowledge of the matter. EU regulators charged in June that the iPhone maker had breached the block stack rules. The charge against Apple was the first under the EU's Digital Markets Act, or DMA, which came into force earlier this year. Bloomberg reported on Tuesday that Apple was found to have failed to allow app developers to steer users to cheaper deals and offers outside of the App Store. DMA violations could result in a fine of as much as 10% of companies' global annual turnover. Apple declined to comment, while the European Commission did not immediately respond to a Reuters request for comment. The new penalty comes just months after Brussels fined Apple over $2 billion for thwarting competition from music streaming rivals via App Store's restrictions. Apple also lost a long-running court battle with the EU in September. That resulted in the company being forced to pay over $14 billion in back taxes to Ireland.
Apple is set to be the first.
Coming up, Malay language proficiency now a prerequisite for citizenship applications. Proficiency in the Malay language has become one of the prerequisites for considering citizenship applications. The Minister of Home Affairs, Datuk Seri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail, stressed that this requirement is deemed reasonable to ensure that every citizen is able to master the Malay language well.
Jadi itu sebagai satu usaha kami untuk menunjukkan bagaimana perkara di bawah bidang kuasa kementerian, iaitu dari hal kewarganegaraan ini, boleh saja kita masukkan syarat bahasa itu sebagai bukti bagaimana kita mengangkat kedudukan martabat bahasa. Bagaimana gelar warga negara itu harus dituruti dengan keupayaan menguasai bahasa.
Datuk Seri Saifuddin Nasution made these remarks to the press after the Majlis Gama Bahasa and Sastra in conjunction with the National Language Decade celebration for the government agencies sector today. Earlier, during a session in Parliament, the additional requirement of Malay language proficiency was also included in the Constitutional Amendment Bill 2024. Among other things, to amend clause subsection 1 of Article 15 of the Federal Constitution regarding citizenship by registration for spouses and children of citizens by adding the paragraph that the person has adequate knowledge of the Malay language. An audit will be conducted on the Legal Profession Qualification Board following the discovery that its financial records have not been audited for the past 17 years. Deputy Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Law and Institutional Reform, M. Kulasegaran, stated the matter is currently under review by the government and follow-up actions will be taken in line with the government's commitment to strengthening governance practices. The Deputy Minister noted that no audit has been carried out on the Legal Profession Qualification Board for 17 years, and this issue was brought to light in response to a question raised in the special chamber last week.
Saya setuju bahawa itu adalah yang dikatakan oleh Yang Berhormat Perdana Menteri. Tata kelola ini perlu di transparent, open dan supaya rakyat tahu yang betul-betul yang dibelanjakan.
Kula Segaran highlighted it is understood the Inland Revenue Board of Malaysia, LHDN, has not imposed taxes on the Legal Profession Qualification Board. However, there are issues that need to be discussed thoroughly with the relevant parties. Deputy Minister of Domestic Trade and Cost of Living, Fuzia Saleh, said the Malaysia Competition Commission, MyCC, has prepared a report on cartel activities involving rice and padi. She added the study includes examining potential abuses of dominant positions by companies controlling seed supply, imports and other areas.
Tapi saya tak boleh dedahkan di sini lagi, ya, sehingga laporan rasmi itu didedahkan. Tapi sudah pun diselesaikan berkenaan dengan kartel padi dan beras dan kemungkinan penyalahgunaan kedudukan dominan mana-mana syarikat yang mengawal, ya, berkenaan bekalan benih, ya, berkenaan bekalan benih, import dan sebagainya.
Fuzia Saleh explained this is Ministry's efforts to control rice prices and proposals to increase the paddy purchase floor price currently set at RM1,300 per tonne. The Deputy Minister added that MyCC plays a role in investigating and taking action against any cartel and monopoly activities along the supply chain. Meanwhile, Deputy Minister of Domestic Trade and Cost of Living, Fuzia Saleh, said that menu Rahmah discount cardholders can now make purchases at the Jualan Rahmah events held nationwide. She explained that the flexibility was given to menu Rahmah operators to make it easier for them to obtain basic goods at lower prices compared to supermarkets, which have different management systems.
Kad diskaun menu rahmah ini ialah untuk memberikan diskaun kepada pengusaha-pengusaha menu rahmah supaya mereka boleh beli barang-barang keperluan untuk memasak menu rahmah itu dengan harga diskaun. Namun kita dapati selepas beberapa bulan, kita dapati ada masalah kerana supermarket yang menawarkan perkhidmat untuk diskaun ini mempunyai sistem yang berbeza. Kita sudah pun mengatasi masalah tersebut, Puan Dipertua, dengan cara menawarkan kad diskaun menu rahmah ini kepada operator menu rahmah untuk mereka membeli di jualan rahmah.
Previously, the special Rahmah menu discount card could only be used at 7 supermarkets that were strategic partners with the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs. The card offers discounts of up to 40% on the purchase of essential goods. The Department of Orang Asli Development, JAKOA, is fully prepared and diligently making comprehensive arrangement for the northeast monsoon, which is expected to continue until March next year, to ensure that the Orang Asli community in flood-prone areas receive immediate assistance when needed. Its Director General, Datuk Sapia Muhammad Noor, emphasised that preparations include logistics, welfare and food supply, and all designed to prevent severe impacts of residents of Orang Asli settlements who are frequently affected by floods, ensuring they have access to essential provisions. That concludes this evening's Malaysia Tonight. In our top story, China seeks to invest in Malaysia due to its skilled labour and favourable policies. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. I'm SAHIH. Thank you for watching.